7 people have been killed. We understand 18 of those children, 9 adults. We'll give you a look at the scene behind us. All morning long, parents have been showing up. When we first got here, just after 10 o'clock, 10:30 this morning, parents who were able to connect with some of their children were actually coming out. The children were crying, some of them telling us that they saw their teacher get shot. We do know, we have confirmed locally, that the principal of the school has been shot among many other adults and children. We have a telling us that the shooter went from room to room. He was firing shots in the But that's what we are hearing at this point. Again, he was going from room to room. We also understand that there were some children that were being hidden in closets, in cabinets and things like that as they heard the shots. We did talk to one father who was with their child who came out of the school, and that child telling us that they heard at least multiple shots, a dozen or so shots, as the shooter apparently went from room to room. But a very unfolding scene. Right now, state police are giving us updates about 2 miles from here as they get more and more information. But one source also telling us that some of the law enforcement officials going into the scene were actually breaking down as they went into the room. They could see all the carnage from all the children that were literally just piled up, as one source described to us. Back to you, Nora.
And Robert, have you been able to talk to any of the parents there who came to pick up their children? Describe what the scene was like.
It was complete pandemonium, Nora. One parent telling us, I said, what have you been able to hear from your child? And they said, well, that one father who said, yeah, my child said that they saw their teacher get shot. And I said, well, how is your child doing? And they were running up the street saying, I just don't know at this point. So it's just a very emotional morning as these parents. And of course, there are some parents who clearly have lost their children. We understand that they may be being held at an area here in the firehouse. We know that our governor, Daniel Malloy, just showed up here, and he did communicate with these parents, did talk to them, of course suggesting if there's anything that they need. But right now, just an emotional situation inside that firehouse. We know that there's a room in the back corner where there are several parents that are being held at that point as they get more information. State police has been setting up a lot of equipment over by the school. They are telling us that this is going to be a long-term process, an ongoing investigation that could take days, weeks, and of course maybe even to months. The police lieutenant telling us right now that there is only one shooter, and that shooter is dead.
Robert, you can only imagine the parents who showed up to pick up their kids and found out that their children had been killed that morning. And you believe many of those parents are still there near the school?
Yeah, when we first got here, there were at least hundreds of parents up and down this street. As you can still see some of the cars that are just packed here. A lot of those cars are parents. They actually grabbed their children, grabbed rides, and walked out of here to get rides from other family members. But yeah, just an emotional situation this morning as they were all showing up. And there are still some here just trying to figure out if some of their children's friends are okay and things like that.
And describe the law enforcement that are on the scene right now.
Well, we are dealing with Newtown has a local police department. State police is assisting them. They're actually leading the investigation because this is such a massive case. But we have seen federal officials. We've seen ATF, the FBI behind us. I think you can just see some of the officials that are behind us here. There's just a lot of people. We even actually saw some military types. And then we actually see the governor walking through here. I'm sorry, correct me, that was not the governor, but we see a lot of officials walking through. But the FBI does have a large presence here as they start to figure out exactly what the motive was in this massive shooting. But again, you can see some of the emergency officials, and there's a parent over here who's just talking to officials as he runs down the street. You can see him in the baseball cap over there. And this is a lot of what we're seeing as these parents show up and getting information about what may have happened inside this school. Just an absolute horrific morning here at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut.
Robert Goulston of WFSB. Robert, thank you for your reporting. We now want to share with you some of the eyewitness accounts from the scene.
Gunshots at the Sandy Hook Elementary School.
So all these parents were waiting for their children to come out. They thought that they were, you know, still alive. There's 20 parents that were just told that their children are dead. It was awful.
They didn't tell us anything. Only what she knows, which I don't know if that's, accurate. So we don't have any information. I don't know.
I've only heard it from my daughters.
Yeah, what'd they say?
Somebody came into the room and shot a teacher. That's all I know. Sorry.
They're doing okay?
I don't know.
I just heard the principal was shot and killed. I heard some kids were shot. Teacher, Mrs. Hammonds, was shot, and they did walk a guy out of the woods. I saw him walk a guy out earlier with handcuffs. He walked by us and said he didn't do it.
It was a grown man.
A grown man, yeah. He's sitting in the front of the police car over there now. So, I mean...
He didn't have a gun?
No, I didn't see any gun. Just had him handcuffed, and he walked by us and looked into parents' eyes and said, I didn't do it.
How was he dressed?
Camo pants with a dark jacket.
We immediately jumped in the car and headed down here, so it's troubling. It was really kind of mayhem in the room with all the kids and the teachers, trying to find your kid, identify where yours is, making sure that they're safe, and then trying to find out what the situation was and make sure everybody else was safe. Started with the neighbors and then the rest of their friends in school and that sort of thing, so it's...
What did your son or daughter say to you when they first connected with you?
They were immediately crying, petrified of what happened and what did it mean. And I think they're both older than some of the other kids in the school, so understanding what happened. My son was in the gym when it happened, so I think that they heard the gunshots, and so it's they're both. I think it's going to be one of those things where they're trying to understand what happened, and when we tell them ultimately what happened in details, I think it's going to make it much worse. So.
Very difficult, as you hear from witnesses there on the scene. Also want to just play for you. We just heard from Lieutenant Paul Vance just a short time ago, who updated us on what was going on. Let's listen to that.
Just after 9:30 this morning, Newtown Police received a 911 call for an emergency at the elementary school. Newtown PD, upon obtaining information as to the stature of the situation, contacted the Connecticut State Police and requested assistance from state police and surrounding local police departments. On and off duty troopers responded to the school, and with Newtown Police, immediately upon arrival, entered the school and began a complete active shooter search of the building. That included checking every door, every crack, every crevice, every portion of that school. Our main objective was to evacuate as quickly and efficiently as possible any and all students and faculty in the school. The entire school was searched. That was accomplished. A staging area was set up. The students and staff were put into that staging area, and soon thereafter the children and staff were reunited with their parents and their loved ones. There were several fatalities at the scene, both students and staff. There is no information relative to that that is being released at this time until we've made complete, proper notification. The shooter is deceased inside the building. There's a great deal of work that is undertaken immediately upon locating the shooter, and that is there's a great deal of search warrant activity, there's a great deal of law enforcement activity both in and out of state to ensure that we cover all the bases relative to that specific individual. Suffice it to say, the scene is secure. State Police Major Crime Squad, Newtown Police Department, Danbury State's Attorney, and many agencies are working together to answer all the questions surrounding exactly what happened. As Mr. Ochoa-Grosso said, we will keep you briefed, we will keep you informed on a regular basis. We'll put everything out via our website and with these press conferences. I'll turn it back over to Mr. Ochoa-Grosso right now.
And that was Lieutenant Paul Vance there. I want to return now to John Miller. And, we're getting new information as this is reported. You just said that you just had some interesting information from one of your sources as these authorities get search warrants both in and outside the state, as we heard from Lieutenant Vance. When you hear him say that, what does that tell you, also coupled with your reporting?
Well, that tells us that they have the identity of the dead person who is the shooter, and that means now they go through a process, which is, where does this guy live? We need to get into that residence. Where does his mother live? Where does his father live? Does he have a storage location? And then you start to get judges on the phone with the prosecutors in all of those different places and say, I need paper with probable cause to go into this place. Here's the facts. They're exigent circumstances. We don't have a lot of time to play here. I think the circumstances here are very well demonstrated. So you're going to have judges signing warrants to get into those places, and they're going to look for that. Now, one of the things we have heard is when they went to a place that they believe is associated with the family of the dead shooter, this is possibly his mother's residence. From the outside, they were able to see there is what appears to be a body there. So they are doing a very cautious entry into that house to see what that is all about. So that is a situation that is still developing as we speak.
And there are reports that the gunman was about 20 years old. Do we know anything more about his connection to this town, his connection to this school?
Apparently he grew up in and around that town. His mother apparently still lives in Newtown. His father lives further south in another town in Connecticut, and let's hold off on where that is for the moment. And he may have moved at some point to New Jersey. And one of the other things they will be doing, aside from hitting all those locations, is to try and reconstruct his movements from, did he come there directly from New Jersey to do this act? Did he arrive in town a couple of days ago and stay with family members? What is the arc of his activities? Is this an outgrowth of something that occurred within his life, what they call a stressor, over the last few days? Or was this something that he had been planning for a while and traveled up there to do?
If you look back at the history of school shootings, and sadly, there are too many, this may be the second most deadliest shooting, with 18 children dead. At this hour, that number may still grow, and it's 26, 27 total.
That's right, and that, you know, certainly shows that is not, in all likelihood, a spontaneous act.
Right.
That shows a